The year is 1947. World War II has just ended. The world is grappling with its aftermath. In the Middle East, a different kind of conflict is brewing. The British Mandate for Palestine, in place since 1920, is coming to an end. The question of what comes next for this land, inhabited by both Arabs and Jews, is a pressing one. Enter the United Nations. Tasked with finding a solution, the UN proposes Resolution 181. This resolution, known as the Partition Plan, aimed to divide Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem under international control. The plan is met with mixed reactions. Jewish leaders largely accept it, while Arab leaders reject it outright. The stage is set for conflict. The partition lines, drawn with the stroke of a pen, cut through communities and ignite tensions. The seeds of a conflict that will last for decades are sown, a conflict that continues to this day. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declares the establishment of the State of Israel. The declaration is met with joy by many Jews, both within Palestine and around the world. However, the joy is short-lived. The very next day, armies from neighboring Arab states, Egypt, Syria, Transjordan, Lebanon, and Iraq, launch an attack. The Arab-Israeli War of 1948 to 1949 begins. It's a conflict that will reshape the landscape of the Middle East. Israel emerges victorious, expanding its territory beyond the UN-designated borders. Over 700,000 Palestinians flee or are expelled from their homes, becoming refugees in neighboring countries. This war leaves scars that run deep. It fuels resentment and mistrust on both sides. The Palestinian exodus, known as the Nakba, meaning catastrophe in Arabic, becomes a defining moment in Palestinian history. It cements a sense of dispossession and loss that continues to resonate today. Fast forward to June 1967. Tensions between Israel and its Arab neighbors are once again at a boiling point. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan have mobilized their troops along Israel's borders. Fearing an imminent attack, Israel launches a preemptive strike against Egyptian airfields on June 5th. The Six-Day War begins. In a stunning display of military might, Israel defeats Egypt, Syria, and Jordan in just 6 days. The war results in a significant territorial expansion for Israel, which now occupies the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. This victory, while decisive, comes at a cost. Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories, home to millions of Palestinians, raises serious questions about self-determination and human rights. The seeds of future conflict are sown. The Palestinian territories become the focal point of a struggle for freedom and independence. Section 4. A war on two fronts, the Yom Kippur War of 1973. The relative calm after the Six-Day War proves to be short-lived. On October 6, 1973, on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Judaism, Egypt and Syria launch a surprise attack on Israel. The Yom Kippur War begins. Caught off guard, Israel initially suffers heavy losses. However, with United States support, Israel recovers and pushes back against the Arab forces. The war lasts for 3 weeks, ending with a ceasefire brokered by the United Nations. The Yom Kippur War has lasting consequences. It shatters the myth of Israeli invincibility and forces a reassessment of strategic realities in the Middle East. It also paves the way for a new era of diplomacy, with the United States playing a more active role in seeking a peaceful resolution to the Arab-Israeli conflict. Section 5. Seeds of Hope, the Camp David Accords, and the Oslo Accords. In the wake of the Yom Kippur War, there is a growing recognition that a negotiated settlement is the only way to achieve lasting peace. This leads to a series of diplomatic initiatives, the most significant of which are the Camp David Accords of 1978 and the Oslo Accords of 1993. The Camp David Accords, signed by Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, mark a historic breakthrough. They lead to the signing of a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel in 1979, the first such treaty between Israel and an Arab state. The Oslo Accords, signed by Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat, offer a glimmer of hope for a two-state solution. They establish the Palestinian Authority, granting limited self-governance to Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. However, both agreements face significant challenges in implementation. The Oslo peace process, in particular, stalls due to continued violence, the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, and disagreements over key issues like the status of Jerusalem and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. Section 6. Uprising and Intifada, Palestinian resistance in the face of occupation. While peace talks continue intermittently, the reality on the ground for Palestinians living under Israeli occupation is harsh. Frustration with the lack of progress on the political front boils over. In December 1987, the First Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation, begins, characterized by civil disobedience, protests, and stone-throwing by Palestinian youth. The First Intifada captures international attention. It forces the world to confront the human cost of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Intifada lasts for 6 years, ending with the signing of the Oslo Accords in 1993. However, the hope generated by the Oslo Accords proves to be short-lived. In September 2000, following the collapse of peace talks and the provocative visit of Israeli opposition leader Ariel Sharon to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, the Second Intifada erupts. The Second Intifada is marked by more violence, including suicide bombings by Palestinian militants and targeted assassinations by Israel. The conflict exacts a heavy toll on both sides, further deepening the cycle of violence and mistrust. Section 7. A step back. The 2005 Gaza disengagement. In 2005, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon initiates a unilateral disengagement plan from the Gaza Strip. The plan involves the dismantling of Israeli settlements in Gaza and the withdrawal of Israeli troops. It is seen as a significant development, a potential step towards a two-state solution. However, the disengagement is met with mixed reactions. While some view it as a step towards peace, others see it as a strategic move by Israel to relinquish responsibility for Gaza while maintaining control over its borders, airspace, and territorial waters. The withdrawal from Gaza does not lead to a lasting peace. The humanitarian situation in Gaza deteriorates under an Israeli blockade, imposed after the militant group Hamas takes control of the territory in 2006. The stage is set for further conflict, with Gaza becoming a flashpoint for violence in the years to come.